Hi, I'm Lone Candle. The Odyssey. 4 stars. Star. I went in expecting a big dumb mythological action movie where our unrealistically good hero defeats or escapes a variety of crazy monsters. But what I actually saw was a movie where the best parts were fights against men. The true monsters. I thought I'd be impatient with the lame domestic crap involving the boy and wife dealing with the butthole suitors. But, especially in the last hour, that turned out to be the best part. Although the big scenes of monsters and war were cool and had high production values, and it's not clear the movie would have had the same impact without them, the smaller fights and the final message and reveal were the most impactful. I thought Troy was a better movie, but that's partially because I saw it when I was younger and more impressionable, and partially because its genre is easier to enjoy. Although Troy versus the Odyssey is an obvious comparison, they are two very different movies. Troy is a simple film about a war and basic archetypes. The Odyssey is about war's aftermath and the consequences of war for those who partake in it, their families, innocents being in the wrong place at the wrong time, societies, and the additional consequences resulting from war's inevitable violation of the sacred. I will discuss some of the controversies twice below. Once in the regular section and again in the spoiler section. In the spoiler, I'll explain how this was less a woke movie and more a Christian conservative morality play. I saw the film in the second best IMAX. Because the entire movie was especially filmed for IMAX, I think the upgrade was worth it. And I would have seen it in the sole best IMAX in my area, but the decent seats were taken for a long time. Seeing a movie is so expensive, and TVs are so good, that it's almost only worth it to go to a movie if you are paying up for an experience with aspects that are clearly better than what you would have gotten at home. The big scenes, scenery, action, and monsters were awesome. I loved Matt Damon screaming during the sirens, and when the mom was yelling at her son, I had flashbacks to my own mother yelling at me. I loved the pig witch doing her magic with her hands. The dialogue was hard to hear. I made most of it out, and I don't know if it was the movie's fault or the theater's, but it should be easier to understand the words. Also, the sound volume was too loud. It hurt my ears. Too loud. Turn it down. Why did movie theaters have to be so loud? The movie is long, but it didn't feel too long and kept its pace well. Still, I noticed the length. And because the plot is a guy visiting a variety of islands en route to his final goal, it did feel a bit like a series of side quests. And knowing how the movie ends, thanks to the original poem, did weaken the tension. Considering it was so long, considering it required a bunch of stops that don't really build, and considering I knew the ending, the pacing and tension were really good. I loved the last hour, and at no point was bored or even particularly impatient. So, it's really a fantastic job to take what could be a pretty slow, long, and boring movie and make it feel fairly seamless and engaging the whole way through, with the last hour being the best, even though the fantastical islands were done at that point. Why did it not get that coveted 5th star? Partially because I almost never give out 5 stars. And really never have, because all my 5-star movies are retrospective before I made up the system. But the list of complaints that prevented it were historical inaccuracy, length, too loud, hard to make out the dialogue, knowing the ending, and multiple island stops that don't naturally escalate. But Each of these ended up not affecting my enjoyment very much, which is a testament to the film because some of these are inherent to the source material. A long poem or book can deepen itself in ways a film cannot. So when you need it to be long and flat, that's a real challenge, and the creators met that challenge. Part of why I loved it, I can't discuss without spoilers, so that will be in a spoiler section further below. My ideal Odyssey would be as historically accurate as possible. Yes, it's mythology, but those mythological elements are in a historical setting. The original Odyssey was already a historical because Homer wrote hundreds of years after the Trojan War, and he put things in there from his time. The creators should have chosen Homer's time or the Trojan War's time and made everything as accurate as possible to one of those eras. History matters. Everyone who sees this movie will now have a wrong impression of history. The creators made some things accurate, but took artistic license with many others. So much is wrong. The armor, the weapons, the ships, what the people look like, etc. That's bad. And it didn't need to be like this. I understand that sometimes accuracy should be sacrificed for entertainment or artistic value, but you could have done everything this movie did with more accurate visuals. So, the movie loses some points for its unnecessary historical inaccuracy. Ironically, both Homer and the Trojan War may or may not have existed, but that's beside the point. Some people care about being true to the original poem. By the way, we don't have the original poem. It was handed down orally and was changed regularly. But okay, the original written poem, of course, that was in a different language, and every serious translation is different in sometimes important ways. But okay, true to some of the good translations. I don't give much of a shit about that. I'm not even sure I've read it. This is a modern artist's version of the Odyssey. I expect it to differ in significant ways. I care about time and place historical accuracy, not staying true to the source work. I don't want a poem I haven't read or don't remember the details of faithfully put into film. That would make a horrible film. I want a badass movie. If you can create a badass film while staying true to the original, great. If not, fuck the original. This is a movie loosely based on the original poem, not the original poem put word for word, moment for moment, meaning for meaning into a movie. That's fine with me. Back to historical accuracy. What I have seen by far most complained about is the race of the actors. As I said, I prefer a historically accurate film, and what the people look like is part of that. And the more people look wrong, the worse it is. And people being straight up the wrong race is more jarring than things like weapons and armor. Most people, me included, don't notice the other stuff being wrong unless they look it up. So it less takes you out of the movie compared to race. Seeing a Greek warrior looking African is a little jarring and can take you out of the movie. So I'd say the wrong race is a bigger negative than other things that are wrong. That said, once the movie is incredibly inaccurate, which this movie often is, then race is just another thing that is wrong. Yes, a little worse because it's more noticeable, but still another thing in a list of inaccurate things. The extreme public outcry and virality about the characters over and above the other inaccuracies makes no sense if the concern is historical accuracy, or even loyalty to the source material. If you are a person who otherwise likes this genre, and you don't like the movie mainly because the races are wrong, you're a toxic asshole. At that point, it's a you problem. Touch some grass, calm down, and just try to enjoy the film like you aren't already enraged or annoyed before you enter the theater. Again, I agree that it's a negative on the film, but once the decision was made to make it inaccurate, it doesn't matter that much, and a movie can still be good even if inaccurate. As far as the wrong races go, I noticed it a little bit at first, but it really didn't feel too jarring, and I easily ignored it after it feeling minorly jarring at first. Again, if it bothers you more than that, that's a problem with you. Work on it. Even though I just said it's bad to have the wrong races because historical accuracy matters, I also think there's a real detriment to saying non-white actors can never play white characters from important historical works of fiction. No matter what people you are genetically descended from, the United States as a country and a culture is a member of Western civilization. Works of art that helped build Western civilization are part of our souls as a people and as a culture. It'd be a serious detriment to say no one can ever act in TV, film, and theater versions of these works because of historical accuracy. Although people bring pieces of their cultures from wherever their predecessors came from, as long as assimilation is still working, people of all ethnic backgrounds join Western culture as they become American. These great works that helped build our civilization are for everyone, and it would be a detriment to society to say many people cannot execute their acting craft in some of our most important works because of the color of their skin. So, especially when we are talking about fiction, and especially when the directors are making little effort to be historically accurate in the first place, there is some good to accepting people of any racial background despite the historical inaccuracy. This doesn't work for everything. More recent stuff set in US history would be really weird if the wrong races were played. And it works less for nonfiction. Hamilton, for some reason, is an exception. But for older fictional stories, it is best if we can all partake in the great works of our Western civilization. And for actors, this means a young person of any race can aspire to play some of these famous characters. Common memes don't understand this. Some show a white person playing someone like Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King Jr. These are more recent and historical figures, not works of fiction. Other memes show a white person playing someone from African or Asian art. These cultures have produced great works of art, and it is fantastic for us to appreciate them. But they are not core to our civilization. It's fine for people to see those works as part of themselves because, for example, a person in some sense is both African and Western. But us as a society are not African, but Western. These other works are not core to the development of our society as a whole in the same way. So there isn't the same detriment when we tell a white actor you shouldn't play a character in a traditional non-Western story. Some will naively dismiss what I've said as woke. Others will feel outrage and think I've disrespected every culture that is not Western. But yeah, for a member of Western civilization like the United States, works of art that played a role in the development of that civilization are more important to society as a whole than works of art from other civilizations. It's not bigoted to recognize that, and it's not stupidly woke to want all actors to ply their craft and all people to see themselves in the foundational and developmental works of our Western civilization. That's right, I said it. Making Helen of Troy black is an act of defending Western civilization. Now, there's a tension with the previous section and me not giving much of a shit about a film being too true to the original poem. Just because a work of art is historically important doesn't mean modern portrayals can't differ significantly from the original. Part of what maintains and even grows the importance of a work is modern adaptations relatable to modern times and tuned in to modern entertainment preferences. Our values and culture have changed a lot since many of our key works were created. Updating these works is necessary for them to speak to most people. The original work is still there. If you want the original, read it. In fact, more people are reading it because of the film. There's nothing truer to the original than getting more people to read the original. I'm not going to read it because poems are for pussies. But for those with that aptitude, God bless. About Helen of Troy. I'm a man of many minds, and with different concerns and values. The Helen from the movie Troy will always be my Helen. Despite the inaccuracy, my Helen is a hot blonde and always will be. Western civilization be damned. I mostly just care about women looking the way I want them to look based on what my gut feels is right in the circumstances. And I don't care if Sydney Sweeney is a darling of the mega right. I like her, and will see movies just because she's in them. There's much misinformation about what Helen looks like in the movie. She's beautiful. I've seen 2 viral memes of the actress that say she looks bad. One is from a different movie. The other is a freeze frame of her playing a different character while she's in the throes of passion. Actual Helen in the movie looks good. She's not who I would have cast for both my personal beauty preferences and historical accuracy, but she is an attractive woman who can play an attractive person on screen. Very minor spoiler alert. Very minor spoiler alert. Hey, it's a spoiler alert, but a very minor one. Once again, spoiler alert. Minor one, though. Minor spoiler alert. Okay, this is a very minor spoiler alert, so you should probably be good to watch this even if you haven't seen it. But, minor spoiler alert. As many may know, in the original poem, they kill the Roughie. The Roughie dies after finally seeing Odysseus again. I was hoping in the film they found a way, maybe a magical way, that makes the Roughie young again, to let the Roughie live. This did not happen. Killing Roughies in movies is badong, both bad and wrong, especially if it's a good Roughie. There's no need to kill it. Let it live. Odysseus could have been given a special potion to use at the death of his best friend, and then use it to bring a youthful Roughie back to life. That did not happen. They killed the Roughie. Fuck you, Christopher Nolan. You should have made it so the Roughie survived. You son of a bitch! You son of a bitch. That said, this is not one of the film's downsides, because the way they killed the Roughie rolled right into another emotional moment that somehow made the other emotional moment more powerful. So, it was probably a net good thing that they killed the Roughie. And I take back what I just wrote about fuck you and you son of a bitch. Apologize, I got carried away. Because when I really think about it, it was actually not good. Still. Alright. Matt Damon is shirtless in a scene, and his body is ridiculously cut. I mean, what the hell, Matt? What are you doing? And this is yet another unrealistic thing. He looked like a professional dieter and bodybuilder, not a Greek warrior. His bod was ridiculous. Major spoiler alert. Woo, 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 woo. Major spoiler alert. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Major spoiler alert. Major spoiler alert. Okay, but seriously, I'm basically talking about the end of the movie now and things that are revealed at the end. So if you don't want to know those in advance, pause it and come back and watch this again after you've seen the movie. If you've already seen it or you don't care about spoilers, let's go. Oh crap, I shouldn't have clapped. Anyways, ironically, for all the legitimate complaints about the movie being historically inaccurate, it ended up being more realistic than the poem. Brain check. Cyclopses don't exist. Neither do nymphs, witches, magic, giants, gods, and other crazy monsters. What is more unrealistic? A movie with armor wrong, or a movie with gods and fantasy monsters in it? What's more inaccurate to a historical setting? The people being the wrong-looking humans, or gods, magic, nymphs, and giant cyclopses? The movie made itself a more plausibly true tale by removing the mythological elements. A real Odyssey could have happened if we just changed the weapons, armor, ships, what the people looked like, etc. Same thing could have historically happened. Just switch out these things with realistic versions. You know what could not have happened? Odysseus's men being eaten by a cyclops, or being turned into pigs. That's 100% false fantasy. So, by revealing in the end that none of it was real, and Odysseus was suffering from some form of hallucinations or dreams resulting from grief, guilt, and PTSD, the movie is far more plausible historically than the poem. Don't get me wrong, I'd prefer it to be accurate in those other ways, and adding myths on top of history does not excuse inaccuracies in the historical setting. But the movie was more accurate than the poem by revealing that the fantastical elements were not real. Footnote. I've come to realize that my view that it was revealed that none of it is real is a small minority view. It's still the correct view, but I can't explain and confirm it without access to the film at home to talk through piece by piece why that is the correct interpretation. But that was over the head of basically everyone except me. So, and like a few random people online, but right now I'm going to go with I'm just better than everyone, and I'm one of the few people who noticed it. That they revealed that none of it's real. But I'll have to confirm that when it comes to video. I still use VCR. That's why I said video. All right. Going the route of revealing that all the magical mythology wasn't real made the movie much, much better. It made it hit so much harder. Rather than having to speculate that maybe the creators meant the monsters as a metaphor, or having the movie just a fun monster film, the movie could hit home with a hard message about the real monsters. Men. Odysseus and his men were the monsters. They were the sea peoples. They were the ones getting closer and closer, killing, stealing, raping, and defying the sacred. The story culminated in Odysseus dealing with his extreme guilt. The film emphasized that it wasn't simply the acts of killing innocents, raping, and plundering. It wasn't just taking part in Agamemnon's aggressive war for power. It was the violation of the sacred. It was the violation of the gods' laws, most specifically Zeus's law. In Odysseus's mea culpa, he didn't simply confess to the slaughter, the pillaging, and destruction. He confessed to violating Zeus's law, for violating the sacred. And he didn't just confess to that here or there. Violating the sacred was the key, core sin he committed. Defying God was the sin above all else, and his else was pretty freaking bad. From the very beginning, by tricking the Trojans with an offer to a goddess, a fake offering, he violated the sacred. All throughout, his greatest sin was defying God. That's what the movie said. I'm not reading that into it. That's what the movie freaking said. You know who is most concerned with violating the sacred and defying God? Conservatives. The core message of the movie was unambiguously conservative. To call it woke because non-white people played Greeks in a movie filled with anachronisms while ignoring the deeply conservative message is to tattoo "I'm a toxic, oblivious asshole" on your forehead with dark red ink. Odysseus says, "We lived in a world of palaces and trade, language, blind to its beauty until we broke it." Holy shit. That is the definition of conservatism. I'm not talking about reactionary bullshit or whatever Trump supports equals conservative, or the variety of things over time that some people call conservative. If conservatism as a political ideology has any meaning, it is to recognize the good in what we have, to realize that such good is not automatic, that we don't fully understand how we got it or how it works, and that we should be careful not to break it. And remember, Odysseus wasn't simply saying we broke it by literally breaking it with war, but also We broke it by violating our sacred beliefs and the rules of God. Note, the movie often said Zeus's law, not the law of the gods, not the gods' law, Zeus's law, the law of the most important god. That is as close to Christianity as you can get in a movie set in a polytheistic world. Oh wow, what a woke feminist movie! In this supposedly woke movie, the female lead is pining for her man to come home and save her. I know she had some agency and tricks of her own, but ultimately, her main hope was for her man to show up and save her. And that's what happened. What a woke movie. We have all these suitors destroying the society, and then the world is saved by the white man coming home and setting things straight. The man, the man, literally is the hero. The traditional leader, the patriarchal father figure, is the only one who can save society. The little bitch younger suitors are the problem. The woman can only delay with her feminine tricks. The boy is too naive and inexperienced. But finally, the man comes home and conserves society. How does he save the day? After finally making it back to his house and surveying the situation and finally taking action, the first thing he does is kill the black guy. The older white hero comes to save the day, and he starts to do so by killing the black guy first. Matt Damon killed the black suitor first. Some died earlier in that temple, but when he executes his plan to save the day and set the white patriarchy back in order, he starts by killing the black guy. I'm not complaining about this. We should stop emphasizing race so much. But it's quite ironic to complain about black people being in the film and then for the great white hero to kill the black suitor first. Oh my god, how woke! It's so fucking woke. This movie is woke. It's so woke that the hero killed the black guy first. You hear yourself? Let me note again. I don't think this was a racist movie. That's not what I'm saying here. He probably killed him first because he appeared to be the strongest of the suitors. But it certainly cuts against the idea that the movie is woke, especially when this is on top of all the other stuff I just said. I'm Lone Candle. Like me. Comment me. Love me. Love me with all of your heart. And if you don't love me, that'll be violating the sacred. And then you'll be lost on a journey in your mind. Because it was all in his mind. I don't care what anyone else says. It was all in his mind.